We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to our first meeting of 2021. Today is Thursday, January the 7th. Just since we've got people separated in a couple different locations for everybody who's on the phone or remote, in council chambers is myself, Councilman CJ Rylands, City Recorder Randy Sanders, our Director of Finance Amby Jenkins, Lieutenant Doug Loudon with the City Police. From the media, we've got Rodney with Channel 3 live streaming us, Amanda Hayes with the Intermountain, and Katie Kuba with my Buckhannon. And so we welcome everybody who's with us remotely, and thanks for being a part of our first meeting of the year. I'd like to open up with a moment of silence. Dave Thomas, right at the early onset, he got word that Gene Stump passed away here this afternoon, so let's keep his family in your prayers. Susie Herndon's mother passed away too. Keep that family in your prayers. I did talk to Chuck Bucklew this afternoon. Pam had surgery today, and she did very well, and they were expecting to have her home this evening and to start resting and recovering. So, and Mary Allball continues to improve. She will hopefully be joining us here in a meeting or two. So that's what we have to report for this evening. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. I'll ask Doug Loudon to lead us in the pledge, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. All right, thank you very much. I don't believe we have anybody who has, we do not have anybody that signed up to address council this evening. And I don't believe in looking at the television that we have any guests with us. Is that correct, Callie?
That's correct. Okay.
But of course, folks, if they're watching on Channel 3, it is live, and they can email any questions or comments to buckhannon@buckhanonwv.org. And we thank Channel 3 for being a part of our meeting and live streaming for us. We will go down through with our department and board reports. First up is Callie. Good evening, Callie. Happy New Year.
Hello. Happy New Year. Thank you. You have in your packet the normal report that I provide. The Facebook posts that are on the left-hand side of the report, there have been more than that, but it did not. It was having a little glitch this morning when I was putting the report together, and it was only showing me the 5 most recent posts that you see at the top there, instead of, I usually go back until our last council meeting, so I apologize for that. But just as usual, we've been getting out information about the local COVID pandemic, as well as vaccine availability, that sort of thing. We also wished folks a Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, etc. And of course, the big news that we've had out since the last council meeting, and I'm not going to say a whole lot about it because I don't want to steal Recorder Sanders' thunder, but the World Association of Marching Show Bands choosing Buckhannon to host to have their championship event here in 2023. So we did put out a press release on that, got quite a bit of coverage there. So that was the big item PR-wise, but just continue to put out information about what the city's up to. We did have to close down temporarily on Monday, so getting that information out about that as well. Researching also related to the marching show bands and NEA grant for arts projects, possible funding opportunity to help us plan for and put on that big event. Just have as a reminder that we will be as soon as that new fiscal year for the Walmart grant rolls around with the fire department and Chief Kimball, we will be applying for that on February 1st. Continue working with the Watershed Association on some grants that they are working on that have signage components at the Riverwalk and North Buckhannon parks. I'll be working on our CARES Act application for December, and continue to work on the path routes, redoing signs on those and getting those up and going hopefully by the spring. And then I have just a little overview of the grants, the funds that we've brought in over the past year. I'm not going to go into detail on that right now because I know Amby has a budget revision request later and she will be going into more detail on that. So I'll just waiting to hear on the AML pilot. I haven't heard anything on that yet. They had said perhaps in January they would start making decisions on that. So we would look forward to hearing good news there. And not included in those totals, we did receive funds for the Buckhannon Volunteer Center through September of this year. However, I had also, I had included being awarded that money in the previous year, so I didn't include that in the list for 2020, although we did receive funds for the Volunteer Center. And up on the LED sign there sheet, we just have the Buckhannon 1816 flag right now, welcome to Buckhannon. And that's all I have unless you have questions.
Any questions or comments for Callie?
Yes, Callie, the path signage or the paint that we're spraying on the street, I'm noticing that some of it is already degrading, and is there anything in the plan for maybe modifying or get something that's more permanent in these high wear areas?
My understanding with the signs, what we know we wanted to do a little differently was that the map, the image wasn't high enough quality. I think once we had it on the larger sign especially. So I was more talking about the signs itself, but I'm speaking through that and I'm bring that up Rod and Derek, but I've discussed that with them.
Okay, well
I think that's something definitely to look at.
All right, thanks.
Sure. I had a question. This is David. I know in the last 3 or 4 days, we had a couple boil your water, depending on the public service district. I heard Hodgesville and Hope, and also Adrian. Do we have a system where once we go on a water boil for a particular district, do we put it up on the webpage?
I typically don't for the public service districts. Of course, if we had one with the city of Buckhannon directly, we would. I believe the county, though, put out alerts on those outage or those water main breaks, especially for Mount Hope and Hodgesville. I think there may have been some coverage perhaps from television. I don't recall if it was WDTV or WBOI. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but yeah, there seemed to be some confusion that there might have been a boil water advisory for Buckhannon, but that was not the case.
Right. Well, I think maybe if we can, when we find something like that out, that might be, I don't know if this would be the appropriate venue to do it, but put it on the website for Buckhannon.
Mm-hmm. Certainly, as soon as I hear anything from Kelly, just do go on our website, and I find we get even more, we reach more people through social media as well as my Buckhannon, Record Delta, and the press. So ours go to the press as well as our website and social media.
Well, I understand there was a lot of confusion. That's what I'm concerned about, is that if we just rely on the social media, there ought to be some official area that our residents can go to and make sure that they're getting the right information. So that's something we might want to think about at some point in time, and what would be the best scenario to go through to get everybody on the same page.
Okay, sounds good.
I think with that particular issue, Dave, it was one of our TV media outlets announced that there was a boil water advisory for Buckhannon because of a break on Country Club Road. That's technically within the Mount Hope district. It was not for the city of Buckhannon. So I think I hear what you're saying. We want to make sure we're not confusing people more so by putting something, I think, through the Buckhannon chain. If it's, we want to make sure that we highlight the correct area, because the media outlet out of Clarksburg, they said Buckhannon, but it was not.
Yeah, I had about 10 or 15 phone calls, and I said, well, gee, I hadn't heard that, and I started making some phone calls, and I finally delineated that it was not Buckhannon, but Hodgesville and Mount Hope.
Yeah.
So, but most people don't have time to do that, and I just thought there might be a better information process that could nail it down. So, thanks.
Anything further for Callie? Okay. Thanks very much, Callie. We appreciate all of your efforts and all the information that you put out for us.
Thank you, Callie.
We're saying thank you.
All right, up next is our Public Works Director. Jerry could not be with us this evening. He did submit a report. It is in your packet. I'll read through it very quickly. The Director, we started moving into the new facility. Of course, we know that that's out on Mudlick Road. We will have to purchase a telephone service and system, as well as a larger air compressor for the shop buildings. We've been repairing some minor maintenance issues, most which are lighting. I'm ready to submit the West Virginia Operation Wildflower Program application pending the approval tonight. Councilman Rylands may have some additional information there. I have updated the employee evaluation spreadsheets and sent them to the supervisors to start their employee reviews for the year. Under Street Department, crews returned to the Gateway West project and have completed 300 foot of sidewalk over the past 2 weeks. We have a few of the crew working on the department move. Sewer, crew 1 working on the creek crossing on the 33 West North Side project. Crew 2 is installing about 100 foot of sewer line at the Lanny Door property, which is out below the CMA church. They will be starting some preliminary work on North Florida Street as well. Maintenance crew completed the painting of the garage interior. Water department crew repaired several leaks last month, replaced skylight in the high service room, made a service tap at Evergreen Estates, and Kelly reports that the new employees are working out well. Under the waste department, the Public Service Commission approved a rate adjustment and have extended the fuel surcharge until July, working on moving into the new facilities. Under engineering, Tennerton Booster Station, working on property acquisition proposal to present to property owners regarding the acquisition of 1,250 square feet of property adjacent to the existing booster station site. US EPA risk assessment and emergency response plan will resume and continue to work on US EPA required risk assessment and emergency response plans required as a result of the American Water Infrastructure Act. That's an awful lot of mouthful of EPA. I wouldn't want Jay's job for anything in the world when he has to deal with the federal stuff. FEMA generator hazard mitigation grant number 2 project is currently out to bid. FEMA generator hazard mitigation grant number 1 project was completed on December 18th, 2020. Project will not go out to bid until the request for an additional $17,775 for extra cost is complete. Gateway West Phase 2 construction. Street Department continues with the construction activities along the old Weston Road. Project is approximately 75% complete. Over at the Riverwalk Trail Extension number 4 will begin working on the engineering design phase of the project in the late first quarter of 2021, early second quarter of 2021. And then finally, City Hall roof replacement will need to get with AMBI and I prior, this is Jay speaking, to prior to summer to determine the course of action to replace the older roof at our city hall. If you have questions for Jerry or Jay, seek them out in the coming days and week relative to their report. Okay. Amby, we are ready for you with the financial report.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go through the balances for December 1st. General fund money market and checking, we had $1,477,000. Historic landmark savings, $3,025. The fire truck savings remains the same at $38,348. Soccer Youth Southern's capital campaign is $428,000. With that $12,000 pledge brings it to $440,000. And then we did have a donation from Dave McCauley for $200. I like to note some of those are a little larger donations. Coal tax, $53,057. Municipal stabilization fund, $514,593. The flood control account was $9,389. Consolidated public works, $134,000. And sales tax, $875,691, and I expect another distribution here this month around the 15th of the month. The volunteer fire insurance, property equipment, liability insurance renewed on the 1st. The expiring premium was $19,552, and the new premium is $19,856, a very slight increase. And if you'll recall, now the city of Buckhannon is responsible for 100% of that now. We did receive a $15,000 check from the Upshur County Commission in December, and they noted it as a donation towards fire response. Then Kerry Wallace contacted me and wanted to let us know that they have extended the monies that were allocated to the city for COVID expenses, and the amount remaining there for distribution is $3,300. So I contacted Recorder Sanders and asked him to look into some better equipment for the virtual meetings we're having there in the council chambers. And then I've accounted for that in the budget revision tonight, as well as paying Channel 3. They've been really good to come and get these meetings out to the live stream for the public for $100 per month. So I've allocated for that too. And then I'm working on the year-end reports, payroll reports, the W-2s and the 1099s, and just every other day with work. In the revenues and expenses, revenues were for the month of December $418,992, expenses $290,000. So we had $128,000 more in revenues and expenses. And as I'm going through this for the budget revision, you know, we're at our half-year mark. So just things I noticed, revenues that were slightly down, and I say slightly, was utility tax, contractors B&O, which I'll probably pick up in the spring when maybe activity starts up again. Hotel motel tax was down. Gaming tax was down, and then we're waiting on several grants that we're working on. We will start working on those and getting those grant monies in. The things that were up was the retail B&O, liquor tax, business license, and I count that to Datum Act. And then the soccer youth centers still receiving their after-school fees, even though they don't have a lot of activity. They are going, that group, the state is going ahead and sending that back to us anyway. They said we probably needed it. And then in the bills to be approved, a couple worth noting is had to do with property purchase. West Virginia Bankers, $1,600 is title owner's insurance for the Mudlick property. And then Himes and Coons expense $2,790 for recording fees and some title work there as well for the Mudlick property. And that's all I have until I get to the other items later in the agenda.
Any questions or comments for Amby? All right, we will see you back here in just a little bit. All right, Fire Chief J.B. Kimball.
How are you today?
Oh, we're all right. How are you?
I wanted to wish everybody a happy new year. Going into 2021, hopefully we can have a good year. Get back to the packet here. November call volume is 92. That's about, we're still down about 6% for total calls. Through November 30th, we're at 1,031 calls for service. Last year we were like 1,242 for the total year. So if we have 100 next year, we're going to be down between 20 to 40 calls. So normal, but we did quit doing some non-emergency responses because of COVID. So that means our emergency responses are up, and I'll have a full report for you all in February. I did complete a Center for Public Service Excellence accreditation, quality improvement through accreditation class in December. They are providing those online now. Very good class. We've had a couple people in our department take it here. I would really recommend, and I've talked to you, Mayor Skinner, a couple people from council or the mayor. It would really make it worth your time to take that class with one of us. It really outlines some concerns over the accreditation process to a small department. I kept notes of concerns and questions that I put out to the class that was present. There was 25 people from all over the country in that class. Two very, very intelligent instructors. And some of the concerns I had are very unique. Mayor Skinner and I talked about that. Unique because our fire district falls under two governing bodies, one being the city council, one being the county commission. And it's very unique when one of them is not involved in it. And it makes it very difficult. So typically in the country, when you have that, the one instructor was from Boulder, Colorado, which is a city. The county usually contracts the city for service outside the city limits. That does not happen here, which makes it very difficult because the authority having jurisdiction is them, not the city, nor is the fire department. So just some things, I've kept some notes. If any of you all are interested and want to catch up with me sometime, I can go over those notes with you. Mayor Skinner, I'll let you know those concerns. We had 6 members today. They got their second vaccine shot, so we're done with that for now until we find out whether we need another booster later on. We have 7 members that will receive their second shot around the 19th of January. So we had a total of 13 members that wanted to receive that vaccine. In 2020, we lost 3 members to retirement. Steve Thacker, Baden Queen, and Steve Long. And together, those members had over 100 years of service to our community in this department. As soon as COVID slacks up a little bit, we're going to have a little event to celebrate the years of service to those gentlemen. And I will let you all know when that'll be, but right now it's not the time to do a gathering. A side note, if you all remember in July of 2019, we held a thermal imaging camera class at West Virginia Wesleyan at the dorms, at Camden dorms that they eventually tore down. There was roughly 30 people at that class. Since then, 5 people have been rescued in structure fires from people that attended that class. Now, I'm not sitting here saying the things that they learned in the class enhanced their ability to do that, but I'm excited to hear about 5 people being rescued by people I was in a class with, and we learned a lot. So that's big news to me. Tomorrow evening, Captain Joey Baxter and I are going to Braxton County. We've been asked to represent the Buckhannon Fire Department. We are going to a 2-hour-long class about thermal imaging cameras and also self-assessment, which is part of the accreditation process, and something we call the first 5 minutes. I call it the herd cast at a fire. So when you go to a fire and you got people running around trying to herd them up and getting information, how to control the first 5 minutes of a high stress call. So we've been asked to come down and do that, which, I had some ownership in Braxton County. I had some property, and a camp down that Captain Baxter's in-laws live in Braxton County, and his Captain Baxter's son spends a lot of time in Braxton County. So we have some ownership down there, and we want to pass on some knowledge we have from the Buckhannon Fire Department, and we'll enjoy doing that. I have been passing out our new SOG book, which has a mutual aid agreement in it. So hopefully I'll be getting those back here shortly. Those, I believe there's a couple copies of some pages in your pack. If you would like to see that book, it's over 120 some pages long. So if you want to come and review it, I have a hard copy, and I have some drives available also. In 2020, the fire department committed 2,034 hours to training alone. The ISO training that goes towards our insurance service organization rating. That's 2,034 hours of training alone. That is down. Typically, we're between 2,500 and 3,000, but because of COVID, getting together is not good right now. Something that we've been discussing with the situation our community has with COVID right now, and the high numbers we have began to discuss if something would happen to a bordering fire department or ourselves, just making council aware that we may have to call back some of our career guys to assist with that. So I just want to make you aware of that, because as the numbers go up and the call volume goes up, you have more opportunity to get exposed. So that being said, on our call volume in November, it was 61% in city limits, 39% outside the city limits in the first due or on mutual aid calls. And that's been about the average. We're averaging about 65-35. And I have one more thing. I heard you, Andy, mention the $15,000 from the county. I would really like to discuss that. I thought the city council had asked not to receive that. I would find out what their intentions are for giving the city that money. So if you have any questions about that, I'm willing to answer them. So.
What's your concerns? That we accept that money, then there is a restriction on, say, a first due fire fee?
Yes, I feel by them putting that in there, that's a contractual agreement for fire service. And if you do that, if at any point in time you would decide to try to do a first due fire fee, you would not be able to do that. I'm not a lawyer, but I would say that would be, if you receive that money and it's for fire response, that's a contractual agreement to me.
Well, have we received that money and deposited it?
We received it. I don't know that we've.
We received a check in the amount of $15,000 that noted as a donation towards fire response. The city never signed that agreement that was sent down by the county. The county signed it, but the city never signed it.
We have.
Does accepting the money hold us accountable without signing that agreement?
I think implicitly, CJ, we would just send the money back and said we need to have some further discussions. This is David. I mean, I've been on the council for a long time. In the first or second year I was on the council, I made a comment to the people and the residents in the city that the county commission needed to step up to the plate and do what's right for all the residents of the city and the county. They have not increased their fire fee for years and years and years. And, you know, this is one of the reasons I think, you all get tired of me saying this, but metro government, we need to try to take a look at what makes more sense for the community, not just the city of Buckhannon, but also Upshur County. And for them to not recognize the consequential difference between first due and non-first due, you know, they're getting a free pass, and it's not appropriate. And geez, JB, your first 5 minutes on your presentation, you're becoming a politician in some ways, because I know you're very frustrated with this area, and I think, Robbie, we need to invoke that maybe every 5 Thursdays we meet with the county commission, and we really need to have a discussion about what is appropriate for everybody. I'll say this right now. I was going to save it till my comments, but it's appropriate too. I think all of us on council, including the mayor and the recorder, and the county commission, ought to say, what are the priorities, the top 5 priorities for each of us that is in the political sphere, so to speak? What do we want to accomplish in the city and the county? And do it independently, and then take a look at all of them. I bet you the fire department will be one of those things that come in. But what they have allowed to happen are not giving us the appropriate resources. Geez, JB, you said 61% and 39% for city versus first due or outside the fire district. We're going to take a look at what the actual costs are involved and going to the city first due versus outside first due. It'd be interesting to see the cost allocation. And I do think we need an increase in the county fire fee, and I think we ought to have a first due. I mean, almost every city around us has a first due. So that's
Dave, I don't want to interrupt you, but CJ, if you remember, we were discussing a all hazards get together for everything, and it was going to cost $15,000. I would rather see them spend that money on that so we can prioritize our needs and our necessities rather than to just throw $15,000 at the Buckhannon Fire Department.
Well, that's a decision for the county commission, so I'm just concerned about us accepting it and the implications thereof. So I guess
I am concerned about it.
I agree with you, CJ. I don't think we should accept it right now.
Well, I mean,
We should ask Tom what he thinks.
Can I offer a thought on that subject?
yes.
I think we absolutely could be responsible for the terms of that agreement, even if we don't sign it,
Right.
if we accept and convert that money. If we do not want to live by the terms of that agreement, I would recommend that the council decline, just as it did last year, decline the appropriation.
Can we make a motion to that effect, Tom?
no, it's not on the agenda for consideration tonight. We have already declined the original agreement. I think what we need to do is we need to go back to the drawing board. We need to contact members of the county commission. I don't want to have conversations here when the county commission's not present. You know, I understand that there in the past has been frustration with the relationship between the two of us. I don't think that it's going to help anybody along the way if we have our feelings. We know we've had discussions about first due in the past, but I think we need to go back to remembering what we did back last year. We did not sign the agreement. We did not request the money. We did not return the form signed that we would like to receive the money or that we agreed to receive the money. I think what the best course of action is that was the feelings at the time. I think we need to contact the county commission and look to return the check. I don't think we need to be here tonight, saying what they do and don't do to support the city and our fire department. I think we just need to, if we're going to have a meeting with them, I'm certainly open to that. And that public safety certainly needs to be one of the top priorities of that meeting. But I don't want us to sit here and question what their how they're Well, I mean, what their commitment is to public safety. I mean, I'd like for them to be present in a meeting to talk about it.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but we have never really had a serious conversation about First Due, not with the county commission. And I think that's what, every once in a while, there's good to have a joint meeting. And it may be contentious, but we can work in a civil way and try to find out what our long-term goals are for everybody within the community.
Well, I think one of the holdbacks with a meeting, and I don't disagree with you about having a meeting, but I think with COVID where it is, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to try to put because there's 7 of us plus 3 of them plus our administration plus their administration. I think it would make more sense to try to wait till the pandemic passes a little bit so that we can put people in a room together and have a discussion, all of us together. I think that's one of the biggest hang-ups in my mind as to why we haven't tried to do that yet, is just for the logistics of it with where we are with the state of health in the world.
Mayor, if I may.
I don't disagree with what we're saying, but we need to keep it up there as one of our priorities. I agree with you there.
Mayor,
Yeah.
what I'd like to say is, I would like to include in that virtual class to quality improvement through accreditation, I would like to try to add a county commissioner in that class, because when I talk to the county commissioners, sometimes I feel like I'm speaking a foreign language, and I think it would help you or somebody else on council to understand our process. And Chief Gregory has his process, and it's a completely different process, especially when you're dealing with 2 government agencies, and one of them is not part of your organization, and it makes it very difficult. So I really feel it would open up eyes to whoever on council would like to take that class, and it's not cheap, $475, but I have a training budget. I'll assist that. I'm sure we can find the money if one of the county commissioners would want to take that class also. And I wholeheartedly feel I'm in big agreement if people have an ownership. And if they take that class and see part of that ownership, that maybe they'll get more involved.
Okay. Well, I don't disagree with involving anybody who wants to be involved. So let's. I would yield to your direction. If we want to extend an invitation, I'm happy to do so.
Where's the class held, Jimmy?
It's on computer, Dave. It's 2 hours a day. It's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays for 3 weeks. 2 hours. It's from 11 to 1 every day, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays for 3 weeks. And it's a very good class. You sit here, they instruct you. You can type in questions, they answer them. And other people will tell you about the histories of them and how they got there or how they're attempting to get there. And it's a very good class.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else? Anything else for your report, JB?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you. Tell everybody at the firehouse to remain safe and aware, and thank them for what they do for us.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, I spoke with City Attorney Tom O'Neill earlier. He does not have a report for under C5. He's going to defer to several issues under strategic issues for discussion and vote that he's been working on for us. So we'll continue on. Under correspondence and information, we have council letters for bond closing, public works facilities on Mudlick Road. You'll see those in your packet. We met before Christmas to get all that signed. We have a FOIA request from Zoning Services at AEI Consultants about 72 and 74 West Main Street and 11 and 13 Franklin Street. Under public relations, we have the City of Buckhannon wins bid to host the World Association of Marching Band Show Bands Championship, which our erstwhile city recorder will be talking to us later in depth about. We're very excited for that. Letter of sanction from the World Association of Bands. That's also with what Randy's going to be talking about here in a little bit. Also, public relations. Art 26201 is presenting watercolor exhibit by Deanna Gillum at the Colonial Theater. Also, I asked this to be included in the packet to draw attention to Art 26201, Art in Public Places. They've launched a GoFundMe campaign. This is relative to the Chuck Olson painting that is across the street from First Community Bank on what I call the Lance Corey building, but it's where Fortify Financial is. We installed that in July of 2016. It's called Evening Star. It has faded tremendously. And it's because of just the direction it faces. It faces west. It gets the beating sun every day. So the Art 26201 organization has launched a GoFundMe campaign to try to revive that. And what are they? Is it $2,500?
$2,500, and Create Buckhannon donated $500 today.
Okay, so we're down to 2,000, maybe even a little bit less, depending on
tally.
Yeah. So if you're interested in donating to that, there's a GoFundMe page set up. Callie, I will get the link to that and send it to you, or CJ will. One of the two of us will. We can put that on our city page to try to help out the cause.
Sounds great.
We also have a letter from former Mayor David McCauley, gift supporting Colonial Theater and Stockert Youth Community Center capital campaign, and a letter from the Atlantic Coast Pipeline about the ACP disposition and restoration plan update. All of that is included in your packet. Under the consent agenda, we have the approval of the minutes from the 12/17 meeting. That's a regular meeting, and then a special meeting on 12/17 as well. Approval of building and wiring permits, approval of payment of bills, and approval to appoint the city appointee to the Upshur County Recreation Complex Board. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second? Second. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those like sign opposed? The motion has carried. All right, we are, somebody said something. Okay, under strategic issues for discussion and or vote. We have, under F1, the approval of the Buckhannon Police Department Hart Office Solutions copier release renewal, no additional cost. Doug or Amby, if you want to speak to this line item.
I can, it's just a simple approval. They have to renew this contract with the copier, and it's no additional cost at all, but it does need an approval.
So move. Right. Second. All right, that sounds good. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those like sign opposed? Motion has carried. Okay, I'm going to defer to Councilman Rylands for F2. We have approval, and possibly Callie, approval to submit application of the West Virginia Operation Wildflower and Beautification along Quarter H, in the Quarter H section that goes through Buckhannon. CJ.
So the deadline is February 1st to apply for this year's planting. And we we're planning to apply for 7 miles of median from Kessling Mill west. And the DEP touched base with the Regional Department of Highways, and they said they couldn't or wouldn't be willing to do that in the median, that they would do 4 plots of wildflowers, and that's not what we're interested in. So I spoke with Jerry Arnold about this and decided that we would try to contact the gentleman that responded to the DEP and and see if there's any way to move this forward. And maybe we still have time to get this on the next meeting this month. So between now and then, we'll be working to find a resolution to this. This has been done in other parts of the state, but apparently each regional Department of Highways is led by individuals which have personalities and interests, self-interests, and the answer was no. So we'll keep asking until we get a yes. Is that,
CJ,
yes.
what was the rationale for declining the proposal?
We didn't get one.
The CJ, they had approved other areas for this?
In other regional highway department districts, this is in on Route 19 in Fayetteville area. There's a long stretch with this, and this was through the State Wildflower Program, but the Department of Highways actually does the planting, and our regional individual said no.
Who is that regional individual?
Jerry knows his name. I don't want to
Okay, that's fine. That's
guess
fine.
at
I
it.
think we should go back and have another serious talk with that person.
Yes, that's the strategy, you know, so we have 2 weeks to try to find a resolution before this
Yep,
this year's up.
I
So
agree with you.
We have another council meeting before,
February 1st.
same day.
No, don't we
Well,
have we have 1 2 weeks?
Oh, we have 2 weeks, okay, yeah, February 1st is the deadline, good.
Our next council meeting will be the 21st of this month.
Yeah, I think we need to have some further discussions with that. Robbie, you'd be good at that, or if you want to help, let me know.
Well, CJ and myself both have experience with the Department of Highways. The answer is no. What's the question? And you have to basically show. CJ's absolutely correct. You have to show examples of where what you want for your community is in other parts of the state, just because if it can be done elsewhere, it can be done here. It was the same thing with getting new signage along Quarter H coming into Buckhannon. Trying to get the signage upgraded was in some ways like pulling teeth, but if you show them it's been done in other areas of the state, then and you can prove it, then you can make some headway here in the local area. I would like to go ahead tonight, though, and get the council support and approve us to submit the application. That way we're ahead of the game, and if we can make some headway, then we'll be ready to do it. We won't have to worry about a timeline with council. Is that okay?
I'll make that motion, Robbie.
All right, we've got a motion by Councilman Thomas. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a second by,
Discussion.
what's that?
Discussion
Yeah,
briefly.
yeah.
So
Give it
I'm
to
all
Jack,
for
Randy.
applying, but this is specifically stated only for median planting,
Right.
not plots. They can't redirect this in any other way. So we have a couple of weeks to work, but I'm all for getting the application in there and letting them know this is what we want. And
Perhaps seeing support from the city in the form of official action by the council could help.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Don't ask, don't get.
That's right.
All right, we have a motion on the table by Councilman Thomas. We have a second by Councilman Rigger. Is there any further discussion? Hearing the need for none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those like sign opposed? Okay, the motion's carried.
CJ, if I can help with that, will you please let me know?
Thank you.
All right. We'll bring Tom O'Neill to the table here. We have an approval of the ordinance 449, sanitary surcharge Route 33 West North Side Sewer Extension Project. This is a first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this is the first of 3 readings. I'll read the ordinance by caption and be happy to take any questions. Ordinance number 449 of the City of Buckhannon, and ordinance 1, amending, modifying, and reenacting ordinance numbers 233, 291, 295, 307, 333, 352, 403, and number 419 of the City of Buckhannon, and 2, specifically establishing new sewer surcharges for sanitary sewage collection and disposal services provided by the Sanitary Board of the City of Buckhannon as part of its service extension along Old Weston Road west of the corporate limits of the city. This is the first, again, of 3 readings. Just to sum up, this ordinance respects the Old Weston Road sewer extension and establishing surcharges for customers who connect on to that line. The particular surcharges are on page 2 of the ordinance in section 2 under project surcharge fees. I'd refer you to those if you're interested in that. Other than that, I'd be happy to take any questions. Okay.
I don't think we've got any, Tom. But thank you for your work on this. We do want to remind the council that this is in the last line of the ordinance caption, west of the corporate limits of Buckhannon. I would entertain a motion that we approve as presented ordinance number 449, sanitary surcharge Route 33 West North Side Sewer Extension Project under the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Recorder Sanders. We have a second by Councilman Rylands. Is there discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Like sign opposed. The motion is carried unanimously. Okay, Tom will probably want to weigh in perhaps on this as well as Amby. Under F4, we have the approval of the Upshur Buckhannon Health Department for occupying some office space at our new location, 395 Mudlick Road facility.
I'd be happy to speak to that, Mayor. What you have in your packet under F4 is a draft letter agreement between the city on behalf of itself and the building commission and the health department. They'd asked for the use of some space at the new Mudlick facility. It is a pretty straightforward agreement. It provides for 18-month agreement at $500 a month. The health department will indemnify the city. We've already received the certificate of insurance naming the city and the building commission as the property owner as additional insureds on their policy. The health department will be responsible for securing the space that they use out there. The agreement delegates to the Director of Public Works the responsibility of working out with the health department what space they will be using, and provides for just some general terms other than that. So they asked for this to put an employee out there to assist with contract tracing efforts with respect to their COVID and their increased personnel and time needs, and that's what you have before you. They are actually meeting right now as well to consider this this agreement themselves.
Tom?
Yes.
Tom, this is Angie. Also, I checked with the state auditor's office because there are some attorney general's opinions out there about municipalities renting to organizations, and they gave us the pass on this one because it is a public organization for public health and safety. And we just have to keep that in mind when we rent, that private individuals would have to seek some approval from the Attorney General.
That's correct. We don't. We are able to do this because the health department is a public entity. We would, likely not be able to do this, or at least we would not be able to do it easily for a private organization.
Any questions from the council members about the agreement before you to consider? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
So moved.
A motion by Councilman Thomas. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Recorder Randy Sanders. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those like sign opposed. The motion is carried. Amby, will you communicate this to, or Tom, whomever has had the most discussions with the health department, will you communicate this with them?
I will. I'm happy to sign this on the city's behalf, or Mayor, if you want to sign it, there's a copy ready for you.
Okay, I can do that. Okay, Amby will be up next. She alluded to this a little bit in her report, but we've got a approval of a resolution 2021-01, very first one of the year, which is a budget revision, number 4, general fund fiscal year 2020 to 2021.
Okay, so it's always, usually at the end of December, we're at our half-year mark, and then we go through and revise the budget where it's needed to be, because of course you can't be exact with these things. And then in the midst of this, since July, I've kind of also alluded to this, but I've not made it too much of a deal of it, because I was kind of concerned what might happen to these funds once we start getting them in. I was in a conference call with the West Virginia Municipal League several months ago, and cities were figuring out how to struggle with the loss of revenue from D&O or building permits and how to handle that. And the West Virginia Municipal League helped give us some guidance. And they directed us to go to the CARES Act to seek funds for wages and various items we needed because of the COVID. I got with Callie, and we just kind of just threw everything in it that we could and went after it. And of course, they came back. We turned in all the wages of all the departments, and then of course they came back and said, no, you can't turn in water or sewer wages. They would pay overtime for the waste department, and they would reimburse us for some of the wages and benefits on emergency services. So that being said, we have received several $1,000s in CARES money for this. General fund has actually received $832,487, and the Waste Collection Board received $59,898. So I wanted to start out with that because we have some funds in the revenue side of our general fund that we need to allocate somewhere, and we need to allocate somewhere. So I'm going to go through the expenses first before I get many more questions about that. But of course, a lot of things going on towards the end of December. We were in the midst of a property purchase, and so part of that's in there. So I'm going to highlight this budget revision is $469,231. The expenses that we needed to add to were the mayor's office, $409,341. I have that detail on the back of your packet too, where I put the detailed line items. And $16,300 additional was needed to cover the cost of the COVID expenses we had in that line item. The reporting fees for the Mudlick property, the property taxes. We had to pay property taxes on Madison Street property where that was purchased. We had a survey at the Mudlick property, and then we have that funding that's going to come in from the county for $3,300 that's going to go towards the equipment there in the council chambers, and $700 to Channel 3 for their assistance with live feeds. Back in April of 2019, you'll recall Aaron Harris approached council about the sewer lines out in the Brushy Fork areas and the development out there, not only to his area, but through other, we're going to have a marijuana manufacturing type business out there, medical marijuana. And council at that time committed to $30,000 towards that sewer project. And we just got the cost of that project when the sewer department finished it this year when we were closing books out. So that kind of cued me to say, well, we need to pay the sanitary board the $30,000 that was committed from council. That's in there. We had to adjust some minor adjustments with health insurance, actually on my part and on another the city hall version of health insurance, the lady that works here, so that part of my insurance would be paid out of general fund. It had not really been paying any of my insurance. Another department was, and I think that should be split up, as well as the person who cleans for city hall, who works for the other utilities, but also does city hall, and they should help pay for that hers too. So $2,000 there in my area, and then $2,300 in the janitorial area. Under city hall maintenance, I had $15,000 to cover the cost of the light panel that was downstairs. That had to be added. It was a little more than we expected, $7,100, and that roof repair for $8,500. And then we are going to get the doors in city hall that I needed to be replaced. Thank you, Jack, for reminding me of that. In street department group insurance, I put $35,000 in there to, we got some bills in for the self-funded claims that we had in that department, so I'm putting that back in there to cover those costs. $300 for stalker phones, that's a minor one. Street department utilities, I added $4,800 to cover, I just guessed at the utilities for the new building. And then I also added $2,000 for property insurance, and I just guessed at that too. I added $58,650 for the payments on the new property. Those payments will start this month. The monthly payment is $9,775. And then I think it's a good time, since we have this money, to put some in rainy day, and we've got $300,000. I think we can easily put that in there. $300,000 to our rainy day fund, which takes that budget revision to $469,231, but $300,000 is going to go to rainy day, if you're agreeable with all of that. And that's my report.
That's it?
Any questions? I worked pretty hard on it.
Is it time for breakfast on Friday?
I think we were lucky to get this CARES money, and then that leaves some in general fund, you know, for what we might need, you know, discussions later, I think, about, you know, we always need things, and so we have this little shot to help us with that.
I agree, and I wholeheartedly agree about the contribution to the municipal stabilization fund. That's been a need for a long time, and I'm glad that we're making that a priority.
Well, I think it should be a priority every year. I mean, that's important, Robbie. But the question I have, Andy, is you said 843,000 was the CARES, or did I hear that correct?
Yes, 832. That's actually general fund side of that. Yes, and I haven't any.
How did they come to that figure to provide us that kind of money?
That was what we turned in is reimbursement for wages for first responders.
Okay.
That's what they told us. That's the only thing they would accept. We tried to turn in some other things, and they said this is what we can do to try to get some of our lost revenues back. And we got that more.
Correct. Almost all municipalities probably did the same thing. That's what they were approved for.
We wouldn't
Well, if they went after it, that's what they were approved for. And different municipalities did different things. We operated as frugally as we could for what we were doing. You know, we weren't just out throwing money around, and I don't want to say that other municipalities were doing that. But we were trying to be careful with what we were doing. We don't know, you know, we didn't know about our lost revenues. I was concerned in the beginning that we would lose quite a bit in B&O, and we actually did. Now, we are down on contractors B&O, so that's why I did leave some in there, because I don't know yet if that's going to be needed before we're finished with the end of the year. But we do have some money, I think, that, we've got some money there.
That would, with the uptick in the coronavirus, will there still be opportunities in the future for more reimbursement from CARES? Have you heard that yet?
Callie has been in conversation with him, and we are going to go ahead and submit for December as well. And Callie will probably speak to this, but I think this will probably, December may be the last time we can put in for a draw on that. Am I right on that, Callie?
Yes, it's the last, at least for that first round of CARES Act. For the most recent, folks are getting stimulus funds again and that sort of thing. For the second round, I'm not sure if there was any included for counties and municipalities. I don't believe there was. Anyway, I haven't heard that there will be an additional year or additional CARES Act funding. So as far as I know, this will be it. However, I'll keep watching to see if that might change.
Thank you.
We need a motion.
Is there any further discussion? Yes.
Move we accept the budget revision.
We have a motion on the table by Councilman Rylands. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
The second.
Good.
We'll give it to Dave Thomas. I think we've had all the discussion. I'll go ahead and call for the question. All those in favor of supporting the budget revision resolution 2021-01, please signify by saying aye.
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 Now, do we need a roll call vote because it's resolution? Okay. Recorder Sanders, I'll defer to you.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Rigger,
Aye.
Mr. Rylands,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders votes yes. Mayor Skinner,
Yes.
we have it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. F6, discussion, possible vote hiring a probationary police officer. Council, if you'll recall, we interviewed candidates a few weeks ago before the holidays. There were two candidates, and I believe, I hear it.
Yeah, somebody needs to mute.
I believe that we left the council, we left the meeting, and we hadn't truly made a full decision. We were getting close to the holidays, but I think we do have a decision now. I think Chief Gregory has spoken with all of us, and we've spoken with the chief as we were instructed to do after the meeting. Lieutenant Loudon is here representing Chief Gregory. Lieutenant, is it your recommendation that we extend hiring of probationary police officer to Mr. Garrison? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Would you like to speak at all about this, or?
I just want to emphasize the fact that, out of the two candidates, in spite of his nervousness, I think he is a person that we can mold into what we would like to see in our department.
Okay. All right. So that is the recommendation by our city police department, that we extend hiring the officer to Mr. Garrison. Is there any discussion on this before we ask for a motion? Hearing the need for none, I will call for a motion to extend hire to Mr. Garrison.
So move.
A motion by Recorder Sanders. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Rigger. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Mr. Thomas, did you vote? Dave, are you there?
I don't have any control over that phone.
Dave?
Is he still showing to be on there?
Yeah, I hear it.
Well, might have to call him again.
Amby, Dave's not responsive.
That's not a good.
I don't know if I'd put it that way.
Well, he's not responding. Sorry, he's not, I guess there is a difference between I-V-E and
He's
I-N-G.
fading fast.
Would the media stand by for everyone?
You need us to run over there, Mayor?
Maybe.
Possibly.
We need a vote.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and vote, but, JB, send somebody up there to check on him, would you please?
Let me try calling first. It could have just disconnected here.
Well, I still heard myself echoing. It was still on the phone.
I can't take your call right this minute.
He's trying to
Please
call.
call
All right, I'll.
All right, thanks. Okay, we've passed it. It was a unanimous, where we will hire, Officer Garrison, to be our new member of the Buckhannon City Police Department. Okay, now he will begin, and then when will he be going to the police academy? We don't know because of COVID.
Because of COVID, they moved Fisher's enrollment to March, so we have to get all the paperwork done, the physical, psychological, everything done before we can send everything down to Charleston.
So this hiring is contingent upon the psychological evaluation?
The psychological, the medical.
Same as every single officer, all same protocol.
Right.
Okay. All right. Will you and Chief Gregory communicate to him that he's now part of our running stock? All right. Thank you. F7. I was going to defer to Amby to speak about this, but I'll talk about it briefly. And Lieutenant, hold on a second. Dave Thomas is calling. Make sure he's all right. Dave, are you okay? All right.
You know, I didn't have phone service for 9 days, and I may not be over that yet.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're all right. I was worried. You just kind of dropped off there.
Yeah, I know.
So
Chief?
okay.
Sorry about that.
JB.
Oh, we're good to go.
Yeah, Dave's with us.
We have a councilman.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't know if Amby stepped out or not, but to try. So Dave, if Amby's trying to call you, you're on with me. So.
Okay.
All right. So where we're at right now, we just extended hiring new police officer, Mr. Garrison, with the city police department. He was one of the two that we interviewed back in December. So we've just done that. We're getting ready to talk about under F7 reallocation of funds from a part-time police officer position to our city attorney Tom O'Neill to assist with CALEA accreditation. So I had a meeting earlier this week with Lieutenant Loudon and Chief Gregory at the police department relative to this subject matter. And so Tanner Collins, who has served as a part-time police officer with the city police department for a few years, is taking some time away. He's started a brand new family and has a lot of responsibilities there. And so he's not going to be pursuing his part-time police duties with the city. So that allocation, it's about $20,000. So that those funds that were allocated for a part-time police officer, Chief Gregory and Lieutenant Loudon believe, as well as Amby, that it would make sense to reallocate those funds. We're not adding anything, just changing from one bucket to another, putting those funds toward Tom O'Neill, who has agreed to step up and take some additional responsibility, addition to what he does here at City Hall for us on the legal side of things, to step over and help with the police department as they continue to march closer and closer toward the CALIA accreditation, and then after we're accredited to continue to work with the accreditation, because once you get it, it's not like you just stick it on the shelf and it's over. It has to be continually a living book of many documents. So that's what we're asking the council to consider tonight. Tom will remain our city attorney. We will not lose any productivity from Tom as our city attorney. He will still be remaining working here within City Hall chambers, but he's a good fit for this. Having an attorney working on the accreditation process would be positive for our police organization as well as our organization here at City Hall. So what say the council? Is there any discussion on this?
How much money are we talking about?
20,000.
Yes.
20,000 even?
Yeah.
How many, was this, formerly it was an hourly wage for the part-time officer, is that correct? Yes. What's the estimated time that Tom's going to spend on this?
I know when Tanner worked as a part-time officer, he would spend about 20 hours a week. So, I mean, it was...
Is that the estimate of what this accreditation position is going to take?
That is something that the chief and Amby will have to work out.
So is this an hourly job or is this a salary job?
I would say...
He would be salaried.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So it's salary, but we don't know how much time it's going to take.
I mean...
Well, I can make a few comments in regard to this, CJ, and I think I know your line of questioning. First of all, when we talked about CALIA a number of years ago, my recollection is we didn't talk about a dedicated part-time individual that was going to be earning $20,000 to do this work. That never entered the subject from my recollection. And I don't think it's appropriate to bring it up this evening without us having an opportunity to really analyze what the consequences are in respect to the amount of hours that's going to be required for this. No estimate, no whatever. And I don't feel comfortable doing that the first time we hear about it and approving it or not approving it. I would, from my perspective, I would table it until we have a little bit more definitive analysis of what is actually needed. Nothing in respect to questioning Tom's ability to do this, but also when you're taking a look at the compensation that he's making, when you put another 20 grand on there, is it going to detract some from what his normal responsibilities are as city attorney? I just don't feel comfortable with it saying yay or nay right now. I'd rather table it.
Well, I'm all for making a decision, but our decision is only as good as the information we're basing it on. So I'm just asking for some clarification.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from, but I don't think we're going to get that kind of clarification right now.
Well, I think having an attorney involved in something as complicated as CLIA is a plus. It's not a basis of, I mean, it'd be good to know how many hours is going to be dedicated to this and then assign an hourly value, I guess, but an attorney traditionally is more than a $20 or $30 or $40 an hour person.
Correct.
I mean, we're all used to, paying for the education, the training, being able to decipher the language and so on and so forth. I'm not uncomfortable with it from the standpoint that we're not asking for additional funds. We're reallocating the funds. The chief, I believe, is comfortable with this situation. Am I correct, Lieutenant? And feels that this, combined with the team approach of regulating CALEA once it's approved, once it's accredited, and so on and so forth, would be advantageous to the department. I think it's a plus, to be honest with you, to have somebody with Tom's training from the legal side of things
And HR.
and human resources to be able to have a set of eyes on the document that CALEA is going to be continuing to submit to the police department, to our situation.
Is this a?
Can I mention something too?
Go ahead.
Please.
Can I mention something too?
Yes.
We currently have Tom at 1,560 hours on what he does now. This job would definitely take him to 2,080 hours a year, which is about 520 hours more. I think it would be at least that in the assistance of this, and that's like $38 an hour.
Well, yeah, they got the no-brainer.
Is this?
If you're using the 20,000 as a baseline.
Is this an annual contract? Is this something that is perpetual as long as we're under seeking CALEA?
That would be my understanding, that this would be I don't know if this would go with the city attorney job if Tom were to leave us and so another city attorney came in, or if it would be unique to this situation.
I don't either.
Well, how long is this to go on?
Perpetually, we hope, the accreditation. I don't know, is the workload heavier in the first year or the second year, and then it's, you know.
I would say it'll be heavier now.
Initially.
It should level out, and let's look at it. If he's going to be putting in over 500 hours additional per year, and it's broken down to about $38 a year, I think we're getting a bonus. We're getting a bargain, and then as we move forward, if the hours do decrease a little bit, it's still in a range which I'm comfortable with for a legal.
But are we taking account of, you know, he's not clocking in and clocking out, and I'm not going to challenge that
Right.
thought, but if our fiduciary responsibility to spending the money, now although we're reallocating this was a patrolman that is now no longer patrolling. So are you going to come back to us and say we need another part-time officer to fill in for the lost hours of patrolling?
No. Basically, we're currently, the hiring of Garrison brought us up one more, but we're still undermanned by one officer. But that would be a full-time officer that we may seek later on down the road. This is to, because we've always, kind of articulated that, a part-time officer is a difficult position to fill because you have to have a certified police officer to fill that position. And if they've got another full-time job, they may have to meet that job's requirements before they meet ours. So it just makes sense to do away with the part-time police officer position and ask Tom and Neil to take, assist with the CALEA process, because even though, we're in the process of getting accredited, every time they have a conference, there's changes to the policies. So he would just be able to scrutinize, the policy changes and make sure we're falling into compliance.
So even with the hiring of this new officer that we hired this evening, you're saying we need to hire an additional officer?
I mean, we're down you know,
Down
one
according
officer.
to what?
Huh?
What are you basing this off of? The number,
The number of officers we have
which
prior.
is currently with this hire, how many?
He would make 11 officers. We had 12,
Plus 12.
plus a part-time. Yeah.
How long have we been down two? Or one? We're not quite down. When did the last resignation take effect? End of the year?
No?
I've just resigned.
Yeah, it was,
I've
Yeah.
just resigned.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He just resigned, right?
And we had Wilson resign.
So
We hired two more. Right, Fisher and Garrison.
Right, right. So how long have we been down one full-time person?
well, since Wilson retired, or resigned probably.
But didn't we replace him with Fisher?
You're also assuming that, you know, with the COVID, we're not having as many people going out doing things right now, so.
You mean criminals?
They're still getting in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I still think my position is to table and let's discuss it further. I just don't feel comfortable saying yea or nay right now. I'd rather discuss it further.
Well,
Mr. Rigger.
I'd like to share my thoughts. I'm in agreement with Recorder Sanders in that, you know, I think that when you look at Mr. O'Neill's qualifications, his education, his years of experience, and what he brings to the table, we're not talking about an hourly position. We're talking about a man who is going into a position that's highly qualified and can augment what the chief and what the city is wanting to accomplish through CALEA. I had eye surgery day before yesterday. Took about maybe 30, 35, 40 minutes. And I didn't pay, we're not going to pay the surgeon based on the time he did. He's getting paid based on his education and years experience and qualifications. And that's what we're talking about here. I'm in agreement that I don't have a problem with the 20,000, and it's my understanding that Mr. O'Neill is already working above and beyond the time that, you know, quote unquote, you know, if we're going to look at hours, he's working above and beyond what he's being compensated for now. And, you know, I'm concerned about quality. I think Mr. O'Neill brings to the table everything that Chief Gregory wants at this point. And so I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And I don't have a problem with it. It's not going to impact the budget. And it is an ongoing process that has to be maintained. And I like what Mr. O'Neill brings to the table on this. I think it's a benefit to the city. One thing we want is expertise to help us to do things right and to keep us out of conflict and out of trouble. And so, you know, that's my thoughts on the matter.
Would you like to go ahead and turn that into a form of a motion, Jack?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion on the table by Mr. Rigger. We have a second on the table by Recorder Sanders. Is there any further discussion? Hearing the need for none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I
Those like sign opposed.
Aye.
Let the record show that Councilman Rylands, Councilman Rigger, and Recorder Sanders vote in favor. Councilman Thomas votes no. Okay. F8, approval of the audit procurement committee recommendation of auditor for the next 2 years. Amby, you want to speak to this?
Yes, As I presented to you a while back, we had to develop an audit procurement committee, and that consisted of myself, Nancy Cho, Rich Clemens, and Dave Thomas. The state auditor's office requires us to seek proposals from qualified firms that can do the audit, and they give me a list of qualified firms to select from. So we sent out RFPs to 6 eligible firms, and this is for 2 years of audit services. One of those years, is actually the second year, is going to be a single audit requirement, and that costs a little more money. We had some federal grant money in that went beyond, that will go beyond the limits that they require for these single audits. So we had to add that into the proposals. 3 firms responded, and 3 audit committee members reviewed and scored each of those proposals. And then I also reviewed this information with Councilman Thomas. He's the 4th member of the committee. And then in scoring, David L. Howe of Cabin Creek, who has done our audit in the past, received the highest score. He received a score of 83. Ferrari and Associates received 61, and Ahmad Associates received 70. The amount that actually David Howe bid was less than the other 2 at $20,975 for the 2 for the 2 years combined. And we, as the committee, are presenting them to council to recommend that I send the paperwork into the state auditor's office to ask their approval for David Howe, CPA, to do our audit for the next 2 years.
Okay. So we need a motion for this, correct?
I move we accept the
Yes, I'd like for council to confirm our recommendations.
I move we confirm the recommendation of the Audit Procurement Committee.
We have a motion by Councilman Rylands. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rigger. Is there discussion?
Robbie, I'll abstain.
Okay. Well,
Well, you know why that is, because
I know, but the problem is that from a quorum standpoint, if you.
still have a quorum, even though I abstain. So you'll have 4.
4, okay. Okay, yeah, you're, okay.
Yeah.
I've never had to think about this on council before, because normally we're not down, folks, but okay. All right, so let the record show that Councilman Thomas will abstain. I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Sorry, I always forget. Sorry, Jack, I forgot. So we'll count you as an aye for approval. Let the record show that 4 council members vote yes, 1 abstains. And that would be Councilman Thomas. Okay.
Before we move on this resolution for the budget revision, Councilman Rigger, I'll need you to come to the City Hall and sign this when you have a chance, and then Councilman Thomas will make arrangements for your signature.
All right.
Okay. Go ahead, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Under F9, I will defer over to our Mr. Recorder Sanders to give us the news.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Many people joined us for our press conference on New Year's Day, and I was excited to be able to announce that Buckhannon, West Virginia did indeed receive the bid to host the 2023 World Association of Marching Show Bands competition. It was a lot of work at the last few minutes at the end of the year. We were excited to learn from the World Association that they were going to make the announcement on New Year's Day. We had first believed that we would hear after their executive meeting on January 10th. So we kind of put together really quick a press conference, and in doing so, we were able to secure media members. A couple of them are here tonight representing the media outlets. Amanda was on the call, and of course, Buckhannon was represented on the call, and we got some outstanding coverage from the local media as well, which I appreciate, and we all appreciate. We heard from the CEO, the president of the World Association of Marching Show Bands, and he, Robert Eklund, he joined us from Canada and informed us that we had been up against some pretty fierce competition in the beginning. I believe he mentioned Malaysia, Taiwan, Asia. There were 4 other countries in the bid process besides the United States. I did learn there was one other city that had expressed interest in the United States, but their bid was rejected early on. So, as Mr. Eklund said, as the time went on, each country dropped out as the United States bid kept looking stronger and stronger. And it was his saying that what came through loud and clear in the 48 pages that we presented was the commitment by the community, the history of the community coming together and putting events such as he envisions together. We started this journey back in March of 2020. Brad Kellison, a local person here in Buckhannon, along with Lee Winter, who has worked for many years with the West Virginia Strawberry Festival, brought this idea to me. I took it to the then mayor, Dave McCauley, who was super excited about it, and he said, let's get it on the agenda. The city council at the time, including our current mayor, Mayor Skinner, embraced it eagerly. We rolled our sleeves up with the help of Elisa Lively and Kelly Cronin-Sams and Laura Meadows. Elisa is with West Virginia Wesleyan College. Of course, Kelly is with the City of Buckhannon. Laura Meadows with the Buckhannon Upshur Convention and Visitors Bureau. And then John Waltz joined in from West Virginia Wesleyan College to help. We made numerous phone calls. We got some advice from some of the folks who had worked on competitions like this in the past from the West Virginia Strawberry Festival, the parade side of it as well. And, you know, we put together a proposal. We put our heart and soul into it. And fortunately, they read into that proposal. I'd like to thank everyone that was involved in working on this. It took several months to put it together. And we did receive officially, and I want to present this to Mayor Skinner and recommend that this be displayed in the entrance of City Hall, an official letter of sanction. And I'll read this. The Wampsby International grants official sanction to the City of Buckhannon, West Virginia, USA, as outlined in your application letter, to be the host organizer of the 2023 Wampsby World Championship for Marching Show Bands. The event is sanctioned as the qualifying round for the 2024 and 2025 Wampsby World Championships. Conditions of sanction: adhering to all Wampsby rules and regulations, maintenance of high standards of organization and operation, utilization of Wampsby approved event advisor consultant and Wampsby approved jury panel. Signed by Robert Eklund, President and CEO of Wampsby International. So you can see it's the official letter of sanction, and I will be thrilled to present this to Mayor Skinner. And Mayor, if you would be so kind as to ask Amby if she would find a nice spot in the
Let's get up here and have a nice picture.
Okay.
With this.
All right. Excellent.
Awesome.
So, Mayor, we're going to be looking towards the future, and depending on you and the other members of City Council to assist us in every way that we possibly can to showcase Buckhannon as it should be.
Absolutely.
To the world.
Well, thank you.
We can't shake hands.
I know. I went to. We will absolutely put this up. We'll go ahead and put this up here for display for the rest of the meeting. But we will put this up here in City Hall for all to see as they come in. And certainly, I know you've been very gracious to pass along your thanks to all those who were a part of it. But we certainly wouldn't be here without you and your efforts to get us here. So we thank you, Randy, for putting Buckhannon on the map. And I know it was said many times in the press conference on Friday, but with Buckhannon, and he even alluded to this, the commitment that Buckhannon has shown thus far was what put us over the edge of the entire community in Westland coming together and saying, yes, we want this. And your proposal was excellent, and we're going to be yielding to your direction and how we can help and making this a world-class event right here. So thank you,
Mr. Mayor, and truly thank you to West Virginia Wesleyan College, who is our partner in this. Thank you to the local media. We're going to be working with media across the country and around the world too as we move forward. So great days ahead.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for all your efforts and for bringing us to this point. And Buckhannon is going to show the world what we've got. So, okay. Finally, under F10, we have a discussion, possible vote for the approval of turf stabilization. It's called True Grid. Your pavers in Jawbone Park. CJ's already got one out of the box. I will defer to Councilman Rylands for some show and tell on this side of the room now.
So, as we look forward to enhancing the capacity of Jawbone Park to become a regional event center, that we can hold a variety of things, and through our conversations with the Strawberry Festival and Gary Canal, this particular year we're focusing on having all the food vendors and all the music and entertainment at Jawbone Park. The vendors will be located along the semicircle concrete. Now, one of the things that we come up against is with trailers and vehicles working on grass. If the grass is wet, it tears it up and damages it for future events, and you have to plant grass. So we researched different strategies for taking grass areas and make them able to be driven on without damaging. Most of the systems require you to remove the topsoil, lay in a layer of gravel, lay in the grid, and then choke it with further gravel, and then grass will sparingly grow up between it. Well, that doesn't really work for Jawbone Park. So we found this particular company, True Grid, and this is a grid system in 2x2 squares that interlock with each other. You lay them on top of wet soil and grass, and then you compact them down in. One edge is a single edge, sharp edge that goes down. The top has a broader 1/4 inch that's tapered at the top, and this goes down in. This will be surface of the soil. Then you go and choke the soil with a compost of sand and soil and grass seed, and you just choke it all out. And then this will not, when you drive over it, it may compress a little bit, but it won't form the furrows of the tires going through and damage the thing. And it has a traction kind of irregular surface that keeps the tires from spinning. So the estimated, if we did 10 feet on either side of the semicircle where the vendors will be going, and 10 feet along the back side of the grass side of the pavilions, it's about 6,100 square feet. That's about $10,000. I found in my research no other like this that you can do in existing grass and create stabilization. This isn't for everyday driving or green parking lot, so to speak, but we're not going to be doing that. When we're going to be setting trailers and concession section units in there, they're going to be set by a 4-wheel drive city vehicle, not the people aren't going to be out there driving all over the place. So if it works, then we can expand that to other areas of the park. or into the new section if we develop other the area of the two Chase parking lot areas. And we have to start building this, the improvements to this venue as we approach the event that Randy has brought to this town, and continue to enhance our capabilities down there. So that's, the company sent us 4 samples. They interlock with each other, and I think it makes sense to me. And
Well, and it goes beyond just Strawberry Festival. I mean, any event that we would have down there, it creates more possibilities. It's naturally a wet area, and if we can stabilize it better, and it will allow us to have more versatility there. So I think it's a good investment on our part for our event space.
I agree.
So do I.
Is there any further discussion based on what CJ has presented to us?
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Okay.
Is there any way to create a small area to give it a try to see how it's going to function down with Jawbone?
Sure. I guess you could, we could buy a smaller amount and test it. I think you'd probably need at least 10 by 30, or, you know, so you could drive on it, 10 by 30 or 40, which would be 500 square feet, which would be about a tenth of the, I don't know that the estimate that he gave us was prorated to volume or not, but
Yeah.
if we wanted to order 500 square feet of coverage and test it, I don't have an objection to that. I just, you know, that we can get this in there by May. That's the kind of the, when we're going to be utilizing.
Yeah, well, I like it. Yeah, I like the concept. I think it's, and I appreciate the work and the research that you've done on this.
Well, we want to remind folks
I'm
too.
curious.
Sorry, Jack, go ahead.
I'm sorry?
I said go ahead.
I can't hear you.
Go ahead.
I would just like to see how it's going to function.
Well, if we do it now, we have to have this done by May, are we going to be able to properly see how it reacts with the growth of grass and so forth in this season? Or do we need the spring to help?
I've never
We've
worked
not-
with this. I
yeah,
think
we've never
grass grows
experienced it,
pretty
yeah.
fast. I think if we, you know, one of the things we need to take care of is we need to bring all the soil up to the concrete, so there'll be, you know, level it, then place this, and then choke it with, you know, I think a sandy mix similar to what you use on a golf course when you fill a divot.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I think what Recorder Sanders is meaning though is that grass, it doesn't grow this time of year, and
Same
what
way,
would
yeah.
we know if we were to test it right now? It probably would be a different result versus if we were to test it in the growing season. I think is what.
That's my concern. My concern is, Jack, I hear what you're saying, but my concern is if we put this off down the road too far, then if there is any kind of activity, and we may not have a strawberry festival this year, but if we do, if we have activity in Jawbone Park, are we really pushing in the envelope then to get it done?
Well, and I want to remind everybody that that this year the strawberry we have to move the vendors and the stage from North Spring Street to Jawbone this year because there's going to be starting construction on the North Spring Street corridor between Main Street and about the Whistle Stop area. So the parking lot where we normally set the vendors up is not going to be accessible or available. So this year, should we have a strawberry festival, we have to move the vendors south of Main Street. And so that's where the discussions began. So we really, we don't really have much of a choice this year. This isn't just because we want to do it, it's because our circumstances and the commitments that we've made to fixing the infrastructure on Spring Street, we have to relocate the entertainment and the food. So I think we need to move on this and get these installed so that we can prepare our park for the festival this year.
Well, I still have a motion.
Yes, and I don't
make a
know.
motion to approve the full procurement of the $10,000 worth of square footage. If I can convince my fellow councilman, Mr. Rigger, to second it.
Uh-oh, Jack, you've been challenged, Jack. You've been gotta come through now.
He seconded.
All right,
Seconded.
Okay.
good deal. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right,
Unanimous.
unanimous. Man, I see how this is gonna go. We're gonna start challenging here.
Don't go overboard now.
Yes.
Okay, we are down to comments and announcements. We are certainly missing our two ladies who serve on council with us, and we continue to wish Mary Allball well as she continues to get better. And we are delighted to know that Pam came through surgery just fine today and should be home now recovering. Like I said, I spoke to Chuck this afternoon, and please keep both women and their families in your prayers as we hope to see a speedy recovery from both. Councilman Rylands has left the room, so we will start with David Thomas.
Well, first of all, I hope everybody had a nice Christmas and a New Year's. And I was going to call everybody and wish them happy Christmas and New Year's. But my phone went out on Christmas Eve, and I didn't get it back in service till January 2nd. So I was here with my little doggie, Abigail. She probably got tired of hearing me talk. But I would like to just throw out maybe two challenges, and I think it's something that might be worthwhile doing. And, Robbie will come back at some point in time, and, it's something that I think we should do every year as a council, and I think the commissioners will do it too. And that's independently, take 3 or 4 or 5, what are our long-term visions for the city and the county? And some of those we can do independently from the commission and vice versa. Some we need to do together. But it'd be interesting to see what each of us individually would like to see take place or change or do something new for the, our goal or objectives for the next 12 months and do it every year. I think that would be interesting. We usually do that when we're running to be reelected, but I think it would be nice to see what we think about where we should go for the future and how much commonality is putting us together jointly or not. I think it's important. And I also think Robbie, I've mentioned this several times, I really do think years ago when I was on the council, we would have a fifth Thursday and we would meet occasionally with the commissioners to do that. Sometimes it just got to be not very productive, it's like we really didn't discuss some of the tough issues that we need to discuss as the joint elected officials for a small 25,000 county citizens. So that's the only thing I have to say, and I wish everybody, I'm hoping that 2021 is a heck of a lot better than 2020, and at least the election has shown that we're in many ways a very divided country, unfortunately. And I think we have heated discussions once in a while in city council, but we're always civil to each other. And I would hope that the state and the feds could take a serious look at that. How can we work together more as a community? Disagree with each other, but do it in a civil way and try to have a very productive community, which I think we do. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. CJ?
Well, I think we find ourselves in unique times. You could also almost call this pre-Civil War. I think over time, there's been the word of majority position is also akin to democracy. And the word democracy, it doesn't appear anywhere in the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, or the Constitution. In a democracy, 51% of the people can take away the rights of 49% of the people. But we were formed as a constitutional republic, where 99% of the people can't take 1% of the people's rights away. As this majority position shifts from one side to the other, we seem to beat each other over the head with the power and authority that each position assumes with their majority position. I think we need to reflect back on what we're trying to accomplish here as a country, as citizens, as a municipality, and focus on collective best interest of everyone. And I'm concerned that we are headed in a direction that once this thing starts, that it's going to be, after any fight or argument, what is there? There's a period of, well, I shouldn't have acted that way, I shouldn't have done this or that, but you still have the damage of the event. And I think everyone needs to reflect on that and try to refocus on the original intention of our founders of this country. So it's a little off the municipal scale, but I think it's important.
Well, I thought maybe you were Councilman Thomas there just now. You're very.
I heard
it wasn't good.
We're the two oldest people on the council, so you guys should learn from us.
Oh.
I don't know, CJ. What? No, it wasn't good.
He's up there. He's close to 70.
Oh, see, now he's throwing out your numbers.
Damn.
Wow.
I agree. Thank you,
Yeah,
CJ.
very well said.
Mr. Sanders.
Well, it's one of the kids in the room. No, that was very well.
Spanky, go ahead.
That was very well said, CJ, and I have to concur that yesterday's activities that we all witnessed gave pause and gave concern, I think, to any clear-thinking person. And since I've been involved with this bid process, and I've been speaking to people around the country, literally, I just wondered what they had to think about us yesterday. I'm more committed than ever to show all of the participants from the different countries that will be here at Buckhannon, West Virginia in 2023, the kind of community we are. And I just thank God yesterday that I did live in Buckhannon, West Virginia, and that I lived among people who can have disagreements and can argue and have those moments of frustration with each other, but at the end of the day, join hands figuratively in this day and age, but continue as a community. So thank you, Buckhannon, and to the people that make this city so special. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Very well said. Mr. Rigger.
Well, I want to commend Mr. Sanders and Laura Meadows, Callie, and Mrs. Lively for the hard work they put into on the application for the band championships. Well done. Appreciate your efforts. And I need to commend CJ again Just appreciate the initiative that CJ always demonstrates for all of us. He sees a need, he jumps on it, and comes up with a solution. And I think that's a good role model for all of us. And so CJ, thank you.
You're welcome.
As far as what Randy shared, the events of yesterday, and CJ, I think everyone's disappointed, shocked, and we are fortunate. We live here in Buckhannon, and hopefully there'll be some mending and healing that takes place in our society. And we're fortunate to live in Buckhannon, and as far as council, we may not agree with everything, but the civility and the respect that we have for one another is very much appreciated. And I'm confident that that's going to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Well, you all said just about everything that I would have said. I think as Americans, we must do better as a country as a whole. I couldn't agree with you more, CJ. I think we need to hit the reset button and refocus. The determination to overthrow our government is completely beyond what I think any of us thought we would see unfold before our eyes on national television yesterday, and is inexcusable and is not. Hopefully, we don't see that repeated. I certainly hope and pray that with the coming days and years ahead under a new administration, that we can find our way back to civility and treating with one another with respect and dignity, even when we disagree. It's something that we've seen unfold all over the country in small towns and large cities, and we even have some of it here in our own community. We've got very divided political viewpoints, and I certainly hope and pray that we can continue to have our spirited discussions, but at the end of the day, we can, when we're able to do so safely, shake hands and have the decency for one another and still call each other neighbor and friend after one of those discussions. So a lot to learn from yesterday, a lot to take in, and it'll be interesting to see how we continue to develop as the days and weeks and months and years go on following the events of yesterday. But as I say so many times here, I thank all of you on council. I thoroughly enjoy working with you. I know that we here have what's in the best interest of our community in mind. We love Buckhannon very much, otherwise we wouldn't be sitting here working hard every day for the citizens and business owners here to make us truly one of the very, very best small towns in America. And I truly believe that. I also want to shout out two individuals. I texted him on Christmas Day, but I want to thank Brad. You'll notice that we had our streets cleared Christmas morning with the snow. It was beautiful. It was nice to have a white Christmas in Buckhannon for the first time in a few years. But we also had our streets clear, and I thank our city street crews, and I thank Brad for organizing that effort and as well as Jerry Arnold for getting our crews out to make sure that our streets were clear for folks making their ways to around town on Christmas Day to others' homes, and that way folks could do so safely. Also want to thank Peggy Hall, and I intend to speak with Peggy personally, but I understand that she and maybe a few others, they went down to the river trail around the parking lot that is close to the boat launch and did just a stellar job of cleaning up the area. They took it upon themselves. No one asked them to do so. Peggy is a longtime citizen of our community, and I certainly, I hope I speak on behalf of the council, we very much appreciate Peggy and any and all volunteers who give of their time to make Buckhannon shine, whether it be physical labor like that or volunteering for one of the many causes that we have here. We've always enjoyed a strong spirit of volunteerism, and I thank Peggy and her for spearheading that and for coming up with an idea to say this needs cleaned up, and I'm going to do it. I'm not going to ask anybody else to do it. I'm going to do it, and that's I appreciate all the citizens who work and think along those lines. We do not have an executive session tonight. The matter has been cleared. So I would entertain a motion that at 9:05 we adjourn. All right. Thank you all very much. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.